Good morning, beloved child of God. As the sun rises and light begins to cover the earth, may your heart rise in worship and thanksgiving. Before you step into the day, let your soul be anchored in prayer. When you start with prayer, you clothe yourself in peace that surpasses understanding. You declare that God is your refuge, your shepherd, and your defender. Psalm 91 declares, "He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty." These words are not just poetry, they are a shield for your spirit. When you pray in the morning, you enter that secret place where fear has no power. Every worry bows down before the presence of the Most High. Your dwelling place becomes the shadow of His wings. Beloved, think of Elijah on Mount Carmel, surrounded by prophets of Baal. Mocked and challenged, he stood with nothing but prayer on his lips. The world thought he was alone, but fire fell from heaven because he trusted in the living God. His story is an exaggerated sign to us that prayer is not weak. It is a weapon that shifts nations. When you pray, the atmosphere must respond. Psalm 23 reminds us, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want." When you begin with prayer, you walk into the day, not as a beggar but as a child of the King. You step into green pastures, even if your surroundings look dry. You drink from still waters, even if storms roar outside. Prayer turns emptiness into abundance and chaos into calm. Remember Moses, standing at the edge of the Red Sea. The people cried in fear, but Moses lifted his staff in obedience and sought God's presence. The impossible happened. Waters split and dry land appeared. Prayer opened a path where there was no path. When you start your day in prayer, you give God permission to part every sea that blocks your journey. Psalm 35 teaches us, "Plead my cause, O Lord, with them that strive with me. Fight against them that fight against me." Morning prayer is not only gentle worship, it is also a divine courtroom where battles are won before they ever reach your doorstep. You don't need to fight in your own strength, because the Lord rises as your defender. Prayer summons heaven's armies to move on your behalf. Think of Jehoshaphat when surrounded by armies too great to fight. He and the people fell to their knees in prayer, and God spoke. The battle is not yours but God's. As they worshipped, their enemies turned on one another, and victory came without a sword being lifted. That is the exaggerated power of prayer. It wins wars without weapons. When you start your day in prayer, every unseen battle bows to the hand of the Lord. David, the shepherd boy turned king, began his days in song and intercession. His words in the Psalms were not shallow, they were cries of a heart anchored in prayer. He faced lions, giants, and enemies with only faith as his shield, yet he wrote, "The Lord is my light and my salvation, whom shall I fear?" His victories were not luck, they were the fruit of daily devotion. Beloved soul, maybe you feel surrounded, weary, or attacked by worries. God is calling you to start your day with prayer and declare, "Lord, you are my refuge and my strength." Write these words in the comments. "I begin this day in your presence, Lord." Tell us what burden you're carrying today, and let this family of prayer lift it with you. Share when you pause to pray. 5 minutes in, 10 minutes. Let this moment become your holy habit, your daily covering in God's peace. Prayer is your morning shield. It is not empty words, it is armor forged in heaven. When you pray, no dart of fear can pierce you. No whisper of doubt can control you. Your steps are ordered, your path is guarded, and your spirit is covered. God Himself walks beside you. When you rise and pray, you remind yourself that you are not alone. Angels are dispatched to surround your dwelling. Demons that waited to trouble you scatter in terror. Heaven bends low to listen, and the Father smiles upon you. Prayer transforms the ordinary morning into a divine encounter. Beloved, never underestimate the prayer of a child of God. Even whispered prayers, are recorded in the throne room of heaven. Every tear is collected, every sigh is heard, every word is written. Like in Revelation, the prayers of the saints rise like incense before God. Your morning prayer becomes part of heaven's fragrance. There will be days when your body feels tired and your spirit feels heavy, yet that is the very moment to press in with prayer. The enemy fears a praying believer more than anything else. When you whisper, "Lord, guide me," heaven responds with authority, and peace floods the very places worry tried to invade. Start today with Psalm 91 upon your lips, Psalm 23 in your heart, and Psalm 35 as your sword. Declare his promises, speak his truth, and rest in his presence. Let prayer wrap around your soul like a warm covering. Let it be the light that guides every step ahead. For the one who begins with God will never be left without him. Beloved child of God, as this new day unfolds, let your heart rise in worship before you rise from your bed. The first words you speak matter, for they set the rhythm of your spirit and the tone of your steps. When you whisper, "I trust you, Lord," the heavens lean close to listen, the atmosphere shifts, and the unseen battles that waited for you are already silenced. This is the miracle of beginning your day in prayer. Psalm 91 declares, "He shall give his angels charge over thee, to keep thee in all thy ways." These words are not a distant promise, but a present reality for the one who believes. Prayer invites angelic protection into your home, your path, and your work. You do not walk alone into the world, for God has already assigned guardians to your journey. Every prayer you pray is an invitation for heaven's shield. Beloved, there is peace in knowing that you are covered before you even step outside. Prayer is not a ritual, it is a refuge. When you bow your heart to God in the morning, you create a dwelling place where fear cannot abide. It is like building a fortress around your soul, guarded by the presence of the Almighty. Within that secret place, nothing can harm you without his permission. Psalm 23 whispers to your spirit, "He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters." This verse reminds you that prayer is the pasture where your soul rests, no matter what the world demands. The still waters of God's presence quiet the storms within and prepare you for the noise outside. Morning prayer is that green pasture where your weary heart regains strength. It is the reset your soul longs for daily. Beloved, when you rise with prayer, you are not starting your day in fear, but in faith. The world may look uncertain, but your foundation is unshakable. Prayer lifts your eyes from what is temporary and fixes them on what is eternal. It trains your heart to trust the shepherd even when the path looks unknown, and it seals your morning with the peace of God that surpasses all understanding. Psalm 35 reminds you that you are not fighting unseen battles alone. Let them be confounded and put shame that seek after my soul. Your morning prayer activates this divine justice, reminding every adversary that God himself stands for you. Prayer becomes the courtroom where your enemies are silenced and your future is defended. Beloved, in prayer you are never defenseless. You are divinely represented. When you say, "Lord, I commit this day to you," you are placing your steps into his hands. Every conversation, every encounter, every challenge is now surrendered to his wisdom. Prayer is the key that opens doors no man can shut and closes doors no man can open. It secures your destiny before you even take the first step. This is why beginning with prayer is never wasted. It is essential. Beloved, prayer is also a cleansing stream. As you pour out your heart, God washes away the residue of yesterday. Every burden, every fear, every regret is released into his hands. In its place, he fills you with strength, courage, and clarity. Morning prayer is not only preparation, it is healing. Psalm 91 declares again, Thou shalt not be afraid for the terror by night, nor for the arrow that flieth by day. How powerful it is to know that fear has no authority over the one who prays. The arrows of discouragement, the whispers of doubt, the plans of the enemy, they are all powerless in the presence of God. Prayer covers you like a shield, and nothing formed against you can prosper. Every morning prayer is a declaration of victory. Beloved soul, prayer is not about long words, but about surrendered hearts. Even the whisper, "Lord, be with me," holds power greater than any storm. God hears the groan of your spirit before you find the language to explain it. He knows the sighs you cannot put into words and transforms them into answers. Morning prayer assures you that you are never misunderstood before heaven. Psalm 23 comforts you again. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. This verse is not only for death, it is for every shadow that tries to follow you. Prayer invites the shepherd to walk with you through valleys and mountains alike. His rod and staff become your comfort, your stability, your protection. The shadows flee where his presence abides. Beloved, as you pray, imagine God's hand resting on your shoulder. Imagine his peace flowing like oil into your anxious heart. Imagine angels standing guard around your home, your family, your steps. Prayer is not imagination, it is reality dressed in faith. Heaven bends when you bow. Psalm 35 gives us boldness to pray. Say unto my soul, I am thy salvation. This is the voice you need to hear as the day begins. Not the voice of fear, not the voice of doubt, but the voice of salvation. Prayer awakens your ears to that voice above every other. It reassures you that no matter the challenge, you belong to the one who saves. Prayer awakens the song of victory within you. Beloved, morning prayer is like planting seeds of peace in the soil of your heart. As the day unfolds, those seeds grow into strength, wisdom, and calm. Every prayer today will bloom into tomorrow's blessings. God waters every word you speak to him in faith. The harvest of prayer is always abundant. Psalm 91, Psalm 23 and Psalm 35 are not just words on a page, they are weapons for your soul. They cover you with safety, lead you with peace, and defend you with justice. When you recite them in the morning, you are equipping your spirit with divine armor. No scheme of man and no plot of darkness can remove what God has secured. These psalms are your compass and your shield. Beloved, never forget that prayer is the highest form of trust. When you pray first, you declare that God is more important than every task, every meeting, every demand. You give him the first breath of your day, and he blesses the rest of it. What begins in his presence cannot end in defeat. What starts with prayer always ends in praise. So rise today with confidence, beloved soul. Let your lips carry Psalm 91, Psalm 23, and Psalm 35 as banners over your life. Whisper them, declare them, and let them saturate your spirit. Begin with prayer, continue with faith, and end with peace. For the Lord who hears you in the morning will walk with you all day long. Beloved child of God, this morning is a sacred gift, wrapped in mercy and presented to your soul with fresh grace. Before the world makes its demands, before the weight of tasks begins to press, take this moment and lift your heart heavenward. Prayer is not an obligation, but a divine invitation into peace. It is the Father saying, "Walk with me before you walk into anything else." This holy pause becomes the anchor for your entire day. Psalm 91 reminds you again, "He shall cover thee with his feathers, and under his wings shalt thou trust. His truth shall be thy shield and buckler." What a picture of safety and comfort for the soul. The wings of the Almighty spread over you like a shelter no storm can penetrate. Prayer is your way of resting beneath those wings. In that place, no harm can touch you. Beloved, when you pray, you are not simply speaking words into the air. You are entering the throne room of the King, where answers are birthed and destinies are secured. Every whispered word of faith rises like incense before him. Angels carry your petitions, and heaven responds with compassion. Morning prayer assures you that your voice is heard and your life is guarded. Psalm 23 declares, "He restoreth my soul, he leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake." Morning prayer is the restoration your spirit craves. It renews what was tired, strengthens what was weak, and clarifies what was confused. The shepherd himself takes your hand and leads you to safe ground. In his guidance, no misstep can destroy you. Beloved, the world may try to pull you in many directions, but prayer secures your focus. It reminds you that peace does not come from schedules, possessions, or achievements. Peace comes from the presence of God, guiding your every step. When you kneel before him in the morning, you rise stronger than before. Prayer realigns your soul with eternity. Psalm 35 is a warrior's song for those who begin with prayer. Let them be turned back and brought to confusion that devise my hurt. This is God's promise of justice to those who trust him. Prayer places your battles into his hands, where victory is certain. You do not need to carry revenge or fear, because the Lord himself becomes your defender. Beloved, prayer does not only protect you, it prepares you. It equips your mind with wisdom, your heart with love, and your spirit with resilience. It shapes how you respond to challenges and how you embrace blessings. Without prayer, the day controls you. With prayer, you walk in divine control. Morning prayer makes you unshakable. Psalm 91 promises, 1,000 shall fall at thy side, and 10,000 at thy right hand, but it shall not come nigh thee. These words are a banner of protection for your spirit. When you pray, you step into the shield of this promise. Chaos may rise around you, but it cannot consume you. Fear may whisper, but it cannot own you. Beloved, in prayer you do not simply hope, you declare. You declare that God is your refuge, your shepherd and your warrior. You declare that your soul belongs not to fear but to faith. You declare that your steps are guided, your enemies are silenced, and your blessings are secured. Prayer is the voice of victory before the battle begins. Psalm 23 gives comfort to your heart. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Morning prayer is your invitation to sit at that table with the shepherd. Even as life surrounds you with trials, God prepares abundance and peace. Prayer allows you to eat from his table without fear of the enemy's threats. In God's presence you feast on peace. Beloved, prayer is your daily bread before the bread of this world. It nourishes the unseen parts of you that hunger for reassurance. It fills the emptiness that no earthly meal can satisfy. It strengthens the inner man so that the outer man can endure. Every prayer is nourishment for your eternal soul. Psalm 35 continues, "For without cause have they hid for me their net in a pit, which without cause they have digged for my soul." The enemy may try to set traps for your feet, but prayer makes them powerless. The very schemes meant to destroy you will be the pits your enemies fall into. Prayer exposes every hidden snare and illuminates the path forward. In prayer, every plot against you is reversed. Beloved, prayer is not only about what you say, it is about what God whispers back. As you wait in silence, his peace fills your heart. As you pause in stillness, his wisdom touches your mind. As you linger in his presence, his love embraces your being. Morning prayer is not a monologue, but a conversation with the one who loves you most. Psalm 91 declares once more, "Because thou hast made the Lord, which is my refuge, even the Most High thy habitation, there shall no evil befall thee." Morning prayer is the declaration that God is your dwelling place. Evil may attempt to come near, but it cannot overtake one who abides in him. Prayer builds the walls of that habitation. Within those walls, peace is unbroken. Beloved, prayer is also a lamp for your steps. Without it, the path may feel dark and uncertain. With it, every step glows with clarity. Prayer illuminates opportunities, protects against mistakes, and confirms God's will. A day begun in prayer is a day lit by heaven's light. Psalm 23 closes the circle of comfort. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. These are not just words, they are promises you activate when you pray. Goodness becomes your companion, mercy becomes your covering. Prayer sets these companions in motion. From the first moment of your day, you will not walk alone because grace walks with you. Beloved, let this morning be sealed in prayer. Let Psalm 91 guard you, Psalm 23 comfort you, and Psalm 35 defend you. Let every breath you take echo with trust in the one who keeps you safe. May your day be saturated in his presence, your heart anchored in his promises, and your steps surrounded by his peace. For those who start with prayer will end with victory. Beloved, the morning is holy when you dedicate it to God in prayer. The first light of dawn carries a message of hope and restoration for your soul. If you rise without prayer, you walk uncovered. But if you rise with prayer, you are clothed in peace. Every whisper of gratitude, every scripture you declare, becomes a garment of strength. The Spirit of God meets you at the start when you choose to meet him first. Psalm 91 assures you, he shall deliver thee from the snare of the fowler and from the noisome pestilence. What a promise for those who begin their day in prayer. The snares you cannot see, the traps that were hidden, are broken before you even step outside. Morning prayer dismantles the weapons of the enemy before they are released. It places you under the wings of the Almighty, safe and secure. Beloved, prayer is more than a habit. It is warfare in silence. The world may see you kneeling in peace, but in the spirit realm, armies are being moved, chains are being shattered, obstacles are being removed, and victories are being prepared. Prayer invites the hand of God to go before you. Without prayer, the battle is yours. With prayer, the battle belongs to him. Psalm 23 sings softly, he restoreth my soul. How many mornings do you wake heavy, carrying yesterday's burdens? Prayer is the restoration your spirit craves, the healing balm poured into your heart. God wipes away the weight of the past and renews your strength for today. In his presence, your soul is restored like a parched land, soaking in gentle rain. Beloved, do not think prayer is only for great moments or deep crises. Prayer is for every sunrise, every breath, every step. It is not just for the mountain, it is for the valley and the ordinary path. When you invite God into the small beginnings of your day, he blesses the entire journey. Prayer sanctifies the ordinary and turns it into the extraordinary. Psalm 35 reminds us, let them be confounded and put to shame that seek after my soul. Morning prayer releases this covering of justice over your life. Those who plotted against you, knowingly or unknowingly, cannot prosper. Their schemes dissolve like mist before the sun. When you pray, you stand in divine alignment where the plans of the wicked cannot reach you. Beloved, prayer is a fire that consumes darkness. Even whispered prayers in the quiet of your room strike terror in the heart of the enemy. The power of prayer is not in the volume, but in the faith behind it. A single sentence spoken with belief can shatter the plans of hell. Morning prayer fills your day with this holy fire. Psalm 91 declares, thou shalt not be afraid for the terror by night, nor for the arrow that flieth by day. Fear is broken when you start with prayer. The arrows of anxiety cannot pierce you. The darts of worry cannot stay in your heart. The terrors that try to haunt your mind lose their grip. In prayer, peace reigns and fear bows. Beloved, when you pray, you choose trust over control. You release the need to hold everything tightly and allow God to carry what you cannot. Prayer is surrender, and surrender is strength in the kingdom of God. Every morning, you say, Lord, this is yours. Heaven responds with provision. Prayer keeps you from drowning in burdens not meant for you to carry. Psalm 23 continues, Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. The rod represents discipline, the staff represents guidance, and both are blessings when you pray. Prayer welcomes God's hand to lead and correct with love. Even correction becomes comfort when it comes from the shepherd's heart. Prayer opens the door to both his protection and his gentle direction. Beloved, prayer is also a song. Even if your lips are silent, your spirit sings when you commune with the Lord. It is the melody that drowns out despair, the harmony that quiets unrest. Every prayer you release is like a note rising to heaven, blending with the eternal worship of angels. Morning prayer fills the atmosphere with holy music. Psalm 35 says, Let destruction come upon him at unawares, and let his net that he hath hid catch himself. The snares laid against you become the snares that ensnare the enemy. Prayer ensures that justice finds its way back to those who plotted evil. You are not left vulnerable, for heaven is your shield. The power of prayer guarantees divine reversal. Beloved, never underestimate the unseen power released when you bend your knees. While you speak softly in faith, heaven moves loudly in your defense. While your eyes see only the moment, God sees the eternal result. Prayer lifts you out of time, into eternity's plan. In prayer, you align with victories already written for you. Psalm 91 comforts you further. Because he hath set his love upon me, therefore will I deliver him. When you begin with prayer, you are demonstrating love for the one who never leaves you. That love is not unnoticed. It draws the promise of deliverance. God himself commits to honor and protect those who love him through prayer. Your devotion is never in vain. Beloved, prayer is your morning shield, your invisible armor. It is stronger than steel, thicker than walls, brighter than fire. The enemy cannot penetrate the covering of one who prays. Your words rise to heaven, and heaven answers with safety. In prayer, you are surrounded by an army greater than any enemy. Psalm 23 ends with this declaration, I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Prayer makes this dwelling a daily reality, not just an eternal hope. Each morning spent in prayer is a foretaste of eternity in God's presence. The house of the Lord becomes not only your destination, but your daily dwelling. Prayer keeps you anchored in his presence forever. Beloved, let your morning be marked by prayer. Let Psalm 91 be your shield, Psalm 23 be your comfort, and Psalm 35 be your sword. Speak them, sing them, declare them, and let them carry you through the day. Prayer is not just a start, it is your foundation. And when your day begins in God's presence, it cannot end in defeat. Beloved, every sunrise is God's reminder that his mercies are new and his promises are alive. When you open your eyes and choose prayer first, you are stepping into the arms of the one who never slumbers nor sleeps. His presence surrounds you before the first word escapes your lips. Your prayer becomes a fragrant offering rising to his throne. Every morning you pray, you build an altar of devotion that heaven remembers. Psalm 91 promises, He shall cover thee with his feathers, and under his wings shalt thou trust. What a picture of safety for a weary soul. The Almighty is not far away. He is close enough to cover you, close enough to shield you, close enough to carry you. When you begin with prayer, you declare your trust in those protective wings. Fear cannot settle where his presence dwells. Beloved, prayer creates a shield unseen by human eyes. You may walk into a world full of chaos, but over you hovers the shadow of the Almighty. No weapon fashioned in secret can prosper against one who prays. The day may hold unknown challenges, but heaven has already prepared your covering. Prayer secures the shield that no darkness can penetrate. Psalm 23 comforts you. He leadeth me beside the still waters. Prayer is the still water your soul longs to drink from at the start of the day. It quiets the rushing noise of the world and calms the restless thoughts within. The shepherd leads you gently, and prayer allows you to follow his pace. When you begin with prayer, your soul finds its rest. Beloved, the morning prayer is not wasted time. It is holy investment. While others rush to tasks without direction, you are guided by divine wisdom. Prayer sharpens your vision, clears your mind, and strengthens your heart. The shepherd's voice becomes clearer in the silence you offer him. Through prayer, confusion loses its grip on you. Psalm 35 declares, "Fight against them that fight against me." Morning prayer is your declaration that the battle is not yours alone. God himself rises as your defender and advocate. He sees what you cannot, hears what you do not, and acts where you cannot reach. Prayer hands the sword of justice into his hands. No opposition can prevail when God pleads your cause. Beloved, prayer makes the invisible visible. It allows you to see with eyes of faith rather than eyes of fear. You may not know what lies ahead, but prayer assures you that God has already gone before you. Every crooked path is straightened, every hidden danger is revealed, and every step is ordered. Prayer is the lamp that lights the unseen. Psalm 91 speaks again. Thou shalt not be afraid for the terror by night, nor for the arrow that flieth by day. How many arrows try to fly against the heart of the believer? Fear, doubt, anxiety, worry. Yet none can strike the one who hides in prayer. Morning prayer creates a barrier that no arrow can cross. It is peace wrapped around your soul like armor. Beloved, do not underestimate the strength of simple words spoken in faith. Even when your heart feels weak, even when your mind feels clouded, prayer still reaches heaven. God does not measure your prayer by eloquence, but by surrender. The smallest cry of trust carries more weight than hours of worry. Morning prayer lifts even the faintest whisper to the throne of grace. Psalm 23 assures you, "Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me." Prayer welcomes the shepherd's rod to protect you and his staff to guide you. Even discipline becomes comfort when you know it is shaped by his love. Morning prayer trains your heart to accept both his protection and correction. This is the safe path of a soul guided by the shepherd. Beloved, prayer is also your song of victory. When you pray, you declare triumph before the battle begins. Your lips may tremble, but your spirit roars with faith. Every prayer is a hymn that rises above the noise of fear. Morning prayer crowns your day with the melody of heaven's assurance. Psalm 35 says, "Let them be as chaff before the wind, and let the angel of the Lord chase them." Beloved, your morning prayer summons angelic pursuit against every force that rises against you. Darkness cannot stand where angels have been sent. Prayer sets armies of light in motion for your protection. You walk through the day with heavenly escort because you began with prayer. Beloved, prayer is the key that unlocks peace before the storm even appears. It is not only a response, it is preparation. Prayer fills you with confidence that whatever the day brings, God has already equipped you to endure and to overcome. It is your holy strategy for victory. Morning prayer writes peace over the pages of your day before they are even turned. Psalm 91 continues, "Because he hath set his love upon me, therefore will I deliver him." This is God's promise to those who begin with prayer. Love expressed through prayer calls forth deliverance. Your devotion does not go unnoticed. It secures God's hand upon your life. Morning prayer activates promises written long before you were born. Beloved, prayer is intimacy with the Father. It is not distant speech, but heart-to-heart communion. Every sigh is heard, every tear is gathered, every word is treasured. Prayer draws you into his embrace, where love dissolves every fear. Beginning with prayer draws you closer to the heart of God. Psalm 23 promises, "Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life." Morning prayer is your invitation for goodness and mercy to step into your day. They become companions that walk beside you from morning till evening. Every prayer sets these two gifts into motion. Goodness blesses your steps, and mercy shields your path. Beloved, let this morning be filled with prayer that anchors you in peace. Let Psalm 91 be your covering, Psalm 23 be your comfort, and Psalm 35 be your defense. Speak them aloud, carry them in your heart, and walk in their power, for the one who begins in prayer will not end in despair. The day that starts in God's presence will always end in his peace. Beloved, as the morning light rises over the horizon, remember that prayer is your first and greatest strength. Before your hands touch your work and before your feet touch the path, let your heart touch heaven. The moments you dedicate to prayer anchor you against every storm that may come. It is not wasted time. It is the most powerful use of your time. Morning prayer establishes victory before the day even begins. Psalm 91 promises, "He shall call upon me, and I will answer him. I will be with him in trouble. I will deliver him and honor him." Beloved, do you hear the assurance in these words? When you pray, you are not speaking into emptiness, but calling upon the one who answers. God promises not only to listen but to respond, to deliver, and to honor. Prayer places you in the center of this promise. Beloved, morning prayer opens the gates of heaven for your life. It prepares a clear path before you where confusion tried dwell. Prayer is the light that drives away shadows and the warmth that melts away fear. It is your declaration that the Lord walks with you through everything. Each prayer you speak builds strength in the unseen. Psalm 23 says, "He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake." Prayer is the path that keeps you from straying. It is the hand of the shepherd guiding you toward choices that please him. Even when temptation surrounds you, prayer pulls you toward righteousness. Morning prayer shields your steps from stumbling into darkness. It creates clarity where there would have been distraction. Beloved, when you rise and choose prayer, you choose safety. You choose wisdom over confusion, peace over worry, faith over fear. The presence of God fills your room, your mind, and your spirit. Prayer becomes the gentle whisper that reminds you that you are never alone. It is the meeting point between your heart and God's love. Psalm 35 assures us, "And my soul shall be joyful in the Lord. It shall rejoice in his salvation." Morning prayer is joy reborn in your spirit. Even if yesterday brought sorrow, today begins with praise. Prayer transforms heaviness into gladness and weakness into strength. It lifts the weary heart into a place of celebration. Through prayer, your soul rejoices even before circumstances change. Beloved, prayer is like the sunrise itself, slowly pushing away the night until light covers the sky. Even if you begin in heaviness, prayer shifts the atmosphere until peace floods your soul. It may start with whispers, but it ends with songs of trust. Prayer changes your outlook and strengthens your spirit. Morning prayer turns despair into hope. Psalm 91 comforts you. "With long life will I satisfy him, and shew him my salvation." These are words for those who begin their mornings in the presence of God. Prayer secures life not only in years, but in fullness. It blesses your days with meaning and fills them with grace. Morning prayer is the pathway to a satisfied soul. Beloved, prayer is the most powerful act of surrender. It is saying, "Lord, this day is yours, and I am yours." It is the release of control into the hands of the one who controls everything. Prayer takes the weight from your shoulders and places it on God's. Morning prayer frees you from fear. because you trust the one who cannot fail. Psalm 23 promises, "Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me." Beloved, no valley is too deep when prayer guides your steps. Prayer assures you that the shepherd is by your side even when shadows try to overwhelm. Fear has no place where his rod and staff bring comfort. Morning prayer gives you courage to walk boldly through valleys. Beloved, prayer sharpens your spirit to hear God's voice above the noise of life. It quiets the doubts that clamor for attention and magnifies the whisper of the shepherd. Prayer tunes your ears to heaven's frequency. It allows you to walk with assurance that you are led by the Spirit. Morning prayer is the key to divine guidance. Psalm 35 says, "All my bones shall say, Lord, who is like unto thee? Which delivereth the poor from him that is too strong for him." Prayer testifies of God's strength when you feel weak. Morning prayer reminds you that your God is greater than any opposition. It proclaims deliverance where defeat seemed near. Prayer makes your life a testimony of God's unfailing power. Beloved, prayer is not just an act, it is a lifestyle. The more you begin with prayer, the more natural it becomes to walk in peace. It becomes your rhythm, your habit, your holy pattern. Morning prayer is the foundation of that rhythm. It ensures that every day begins aligned with heaven's plan. Psalm 91 says, "He shall give his angels charge over thee, to keep thee in all thy ways." Beloved, every morning you pray, this promise comes alive again. Angels are dispatched to watch over you, unseen but ever present. Their wings of protection surround your life, because prayer invites them. Morning prayer secures heavenly guardianship. Beloved, prayer is also the preparation of your heart to love others. It fills you with patience, with gentleness, and with grace. It softens harsh thoughts and replaces them with compassion. Prayer begins in worship, but overflows into kindness for everyone you meet. Morning prayer transforms you into a vessel of love. Psalm 23 assures, "Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life." This verse is a daily reality for the one who prays. Prayer activates goodness and releases mercy into your steps. Everywhere you go, these two companions walk beside you. Morning prayer summons their presence for your journey. Beloved, let this day be wrapped in prayer from beginning to end. Let Psalm 91 guard your heart. Let Psalm 23 guide your spirit. And let Psalm 35 defend your life. Speak these truths over yourself and your family with faith. Prayer is your power, your protection, and your peace. And the one who begins in prayer will surely end in praise. Beloved, there is no safer way to begin your day than with prayer. Prayer is the gentle key that unlocks peace before you even step outside. It is the breath of heaven filling your lungs, reminding you that you are not alone. Every whispered word connects your heart to the heart of God. Morning prayer is the foundation of a blessed day. Psalm 91 declares, "He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty." This secret place is found when you choose prayer before anything else. It is a refuge where fear cannot follow and where peace reigns unchallenged. Dwelling there each morning equips you for every challenge. In prayer you abide beneath his unshakable presence. Beloved, the world is noisy and heavy, but prayer carves out silence for your soul. It creates a space where your spirit can breathe freely. In that sacred silence, God speaks words of life and assurance. Morning prayer clears away the clutter of worry and confusion. It sets your heart in harmony with heaven's melody. Psalm 23 comforts us with these words, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want." When you pray, you are declaring this truth over your life. You remind your soul that your shepherd provides everything you need. Prayer opens the door to contentment, for you know he is your source. beginning with prayer ensures you lack nothing in spirit. Beloved, prayer is not complicated. It is simply conversation with your Father. He longs to hear your voice before the world does. He treasures your morning surrender more than any accomplishment. Even a few sincere words carry eternal weight. Morning prayer delights the heart of God. Psalm 35 says, "Plead my cause, O Lord, with them that strive with me, fight against them that fight against me." These words remind you that prayer is also protection. Every time you begin with prayer, you hand your unseen battles into His hands. You do not need to fight in your own strength. When God is your warrior, morning prayer secures His defense over your life. Beloved, prayer is the compass that points your day toward peace. Without it, you may wander through worry and confusion. With it, every step is aligned with God's will. Prayer saves you from paths of distraction and sets you firmly on the path of righteousness. It guides you when you cannot guide yourself. Psalm 91 promises, "No evil shall befall thee, neither shall any plague come nigh thy dwelling." These words are a covering for your morning prayer. They remind you that protection is not earned, but received through faith. Prayer claims these promises and seals them over your home and family. The power of morning prayer keeps you safe in the arms of God. Beloved, prayer is also a shield against fear. The moment you pray, fear loses its grip. Anxiety cannot dwell where trust has been spoken. Doubt cannot survive where faith has been declared. Morning prayer fills your soul with courage. Psalm 23 assures, "He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters." Beloved, this is what prayer provides for your soul: rest and refreshment. The shepherd calls you into a calm place where you can breathe again. Morning prayer is your entry into that green pasture. There, your heart finds stillness. Beloved, prayer does not only prepare you for the good, it also equips you for the hard. Life may bring trials, but prayer arms you with peace before they arrive. You cannot control the storms, but you can control where your heart abides. If you choose prayer, you choose shelter. Morning prayer ensures you walk with confidence into the unknown. Psalm 35 says, "Let them be as chaff before the wind, and let the angel of the Lord chase them." Prayer invites angelic protection to walk with you. Forces of darkness that rose against you scatter in fear. Angels stand guard when your lips have chosen to pray. Morning prayer makes you untouchable by unseen schemes. Heaven fights for you when you begin with prayer. Beloved, prayer fills your heart with strength that is greater than your own. It teaches you to depend not on your ability, but on God's faithfulness. Each prayer strengthens the roots of your faith. It is how you grow deeper in trust and higher in peace. Morning prayer fortifies you for everything ahead. Psalm 91 continues, "Because he hath set his love upon me, therefore will I deliver him." Love expressed in prayer calls forth God's deliverance. The Father cannot ignore the voice of his beloved children. Every time you begin with prayer, you are setting your love upon him. In return, he sets his protection upon you. Prayer activates this covenant. Beloved, prayer is the fragrance of devotion rising to heaven. It is sweeter than any sacrifice, more precious than any ritual. God treasures the sound of your heart, turned toward him in the morning. Even your sighs are holy in his presence. Morning prayer fills heaven with fragrance. Psalm 23 declares, "Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life." Beloved, goodness and mercy are summoned each time you pray. They follow your steps into work, into decisions, into challenges. Prayer calls them into motion for your day. Morning prayer surrounds you with heaven's companions. Beloved, let this morning remind you that prayer is never wasted. It is your weapon, your peace, your song, and your refuge. Let Psalm 91 be your covering, Psalm 23 be your comfort, and Psalm 35 be your defense. Begin today with these promises flowing from your lips, and let your whole day rest safely in the presence of God. Beloved, the most powerful way to begin your day is with words of prayer lifted toward heaven. When you rise and open your mouth to bless the Lord, the atmosphere around you shifts. Worry begins to melt away, and peace takes its place. Prayer is the key that unlocks strength you did not know you had. Morning prayer is your declaration that God is greater than anything ahead. Psalm 91 reminds us, "I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress. My God, in Him will I trust." This verse is more than poetry. It is a foundation for your day. Prayer is how you build that fortress around your soul each morning. Every word spoken in faith becomes a stone of strength. By the end of your prayer, your spirit is wrapped in His safety. Beloved, prayer is not only your shield, but your conversation with a Father who loves you. He listens with patience, responds with compassion, and acts with power. Even before you finish speaking, He knows what you need. Prayer is the reminder that you are never forgotten. Morning prayer secures your heart in the love of God. Psalm 23 declares, "He restoreth my soul." Beloved, restoration begins in prayer. God renews your strength, refreshes your spirit, and revives your joy. Whatever you lost yesterday is restored when you begin today in His presence. Prayer resets your soul to peace. Beloved, prayer is the oil that keeps your lamp burning through the trials of the day. Without it, the fire of your faith flickers. With it, you shine brightly, even when darkness surrounds you. Prayer keeps your spirit alive, awake, and ready. Morning prayer fills your lamp with oil from heaven. Psalm 35 cries, "Draw out also the spear, and stop the way against them that persecute me. Say unto my soul, I am thy salvation." Beloved, these words remind you that prayer secures God's personal defense over your life. No enemy, seen or unseen, can overtake you when the Lord rises as your salvation. Prayer invokes that shield and declares your victory. Morning prayer sets heaven's armies into motion for your sake. Beloved, when you pray, your heart grows lighter. Burdens you carried through the night are lifted in God's presence. Worries that pressed on your mind are released into His hands. Prayer is the holy exchange of your weakness for His strength. Morning prayer ensures you do not walk into the day carrying yesterday's weight. Psalm 91 comforts us with, "Because thou hast made the Lord, which is my refuge, even the Most High, thy habitation, there shall no evil befall thee." When you choose prayer first, you choose to dwell in His habitation. You are wrapped in a covering that no evil can penetrate. Prayer secures this promise over your life. Morning prayer builds your dwelling place in the presence of the Most High. Beloved, prayer is the discipline that creates peace in your heart. Even when the day tries to pull you in many directions, prayer centers you. It reminds you that your identity is not in tasks, but in the presence of God. Prayer keeps your spirit aligned with eternal truth. Morning prayer makes you steady where others are shaken. Psalm 23 declares again, "Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me." These words remind you that prayer welcomes both God's protection and His correction. In prayer, you invite the shepherd to keep you safe from harm and to guide you when you drift. His presence in your life is both shield and staff. Morning prayer assures you that you are never wandering alone. Beloved, prayer strengthens your faith in unseen promises. Even when you cannot see the answer, prayer assures you that God is working. Every seed of prayer is planted in faith and watered by trust. In time, it grows into a harvest of blessing. Morning prayer is the planting of seeds for tomorrow's miracles. Psalm 35 assures, "Let them be ashamed and brought to confusion together that rejoice at mine hurt." Prayer guarantees that those who rise against you cannot succeed. Their laughter turns to silence when God defends his children. Prayer shifts the scales of justice in your favor. Morning prayer secures the downfall of every scheme against you. Beloved, prayer also opens your eyes to blessings you might otherwise overlook. Gratitude flows naturally when your first words are directed to God. You begin to notice the small mercies, the breath in your lungs, the beauty of the sunrise, the peace in your spirit. Prayer trains your heart to see goodness, even in the ordinary. Morning prayer magnifies God's faithfulness. Psalm 91 declares, "With long life will I satisfy him and shew him my salvation." Beloved, these words are not distant, they are for you today. When you begin with prayer, you are sowing into a long life filled with meaning and peace. God promises satisfaction to those who love him enough to seek him first. Morning prayer unlocks the fullness of that promise. Beloved, prayer is also an act of warfare, though spoken in peace. Every morning prayer disrupts the plans of darkness against you. The enemy dreads a believer who begins with prayer. Your whispered words carry authority because they are backed by heaven. Morning prayer turns the tide of battle before it begins. Psalm 23 ends with, "Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life." Beloved, prayer is how you ensure this verse becomes your daily reality. Each morning, goodness and mercy are summoned to walk with you. They follow you into work, into family, into trials, and into victories. Morning prayer invites these companions to cover your journey. Beloved, let today be marked by prayer from beginning to end. Let Psalm 91 shield you, Psalm 23 refresh you, and Psalm 35 defend you. Let every breath carry trust, every step carry peace, and every word carry love. Prayer is your morning armor and your daily strength. And when you begin with prayer, you end with victory. Beloved, the morning is not just the start of another day. It is the moment when heaven extends its hand to you. Prayer is the bridge that allows you to step into that divine invitation. Every time you rise and begin with prayer, you are saying yes to the presence of God. You are choosing safety over fear, faith over worry, and peace over chaos. Morning prayer is the foundation on which your day is built. Psalm 91 assures, "Surely he shall deliver thee from the snare of the fowler, and from the noisome pestilence." This verse is more than words, it is your promise for today. Prayer activates this covering over your life. It breaks every snare designed to trap your soul and silences every pestilence meant to steal your peace. Morning prayer secures your deliverance before the day begins. Beloved, prayer is your holy weapon, sharpened by trust and strengthened by faith. Without it, you walk into the day uncovered, but with it, you walk clothed in victory. Prayer is the sound of surrender that shakes the plans of darkness. It is the quiet whisper that has louder authority than the enemy's roar. Morning prayer places the sword of the Spirit in your hands. Psalm 23 comforts us. "He leadeth me beside the still waters." Beloved, prayer is those still waters for your weary soul. It is the calm where your heart finds balance and your mind finds rest. In prayer, the shepherd draws you away from confusion and into clarity. Morning prayer is the refreshment that strengthens you for the road ahead. Beloved, prayer is not only asking, it is abiding. It is resting in the presence of the one who knows your every thought. It is listening as much as speaking. It is silence filled with divine peace. Morning prayer is the place where abiding becomes your strength. Psalm 35 says, "Let them be turned back and brought to confusion that devise my hurt." Beloved, prayer ensures that the plans of those who rise against you are reversed. Their schemes collapse before they touch your life. Prayer surrounds you with divine justice, even when you do not see it. Morning prayer places your battles into the hands of the Almighty Judge. Beloved, prayer is your spiritual armor. Every verse you declare, every word you speak in faith, becomes a piece of protection over your life. The helmet of salvation, the shield of faith, the breastplate of righteousness, all are strengthened through prayer. You step into the day clothed in spiritual armor no enemy can penetrate. Morning prayer equips you for victory. Psalm 91 promises, "Thou shalt not be afraid for the terror by night, nor for the arrow that flieth by day." Beloved, these words remind you that prayer cancels the power of fear. Terror may try to come in the night, arrows may fly in the day, but they cannot reach the one who prays. Prayer creates a divine barrier between you and harm. Morning prayer removes fear and replaces it with confidence. Beloved, prayer is the daily practice of placing your hand into God's. When you pray, you invite Him to lead your steps and guard your path. You are no longer walking blindly. You are walking with the Shepherd. His presence becomes your compass. Morning prayer assures you that you are never without direction. Psalm 23 continues, "Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me." Beloved, prayer is how you welcome that comfort. The rod keeps danger away, and the staff guides your heart in love. In prayer, you receive both protection and direction. You are comforted, not because the path is easy, but because the Shepherd is near. Morning prayer anchors you in His care. Beloved, prayer strengthens your mind against doubt. It silences the voices that say you cannot and reminds you that God says you can. It replaces fear with faith and anxiety with assurance. Prayer renews your confidence in the promises of God. Morning prayer fortifies your thoughts with truth. Psalm 35 assures, "Let destruction come upon him at unawares, and let his net that he hath hid catch himself." Beloved, these words are fulfilled when you pray. The very traps meant for your downfall become the downfall of your enemies. God reverses their plots and secures your safety. Morning prayer calls forth divine reversal. Beloved, prayer is also your source of peace. It calms your spirit and reminds you that God is sovereign. It teaches you to trust His timing, even when answers seem delayed. Prayer keeps your heart steady while you wait. Morning prayer fills you with the peace that surpasses understanding. Psalm 91 declares again, "Because He hath set His love upon me, therefore will I deliver him. I will set him on high, because he hath known my name." Beloved, your prayer is your way of setting your love upon the Lord. In response, He promises deliverance and elevation. Prayer connects your devotion to His action. Morning prayer secures both His protection and His promotion. Beloved, prayer is your anchor when the world feels unstable. It grounds you in truth when everything around you shifts. It reminds you that your foundation is Christ, unmovable and unchanging. Prayer lifts you above the storms of life. Morning prayer plants your feet firmly on the rock. Psalm 23 concludes, "Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life." Beloved, prayer is the invitation for goodness and mercy to rise with you each morning. They become your constant companions, guarding your steps and blessing your way. Prayer activates their presence in your daily walk. Morning prayer ensures that goodness and mercy never leave your side. Beloved, let this morning be filled with prayer that anchors your spirit and shields your day. Let Psalm 91 be your covering, Psalm 23 be your refreshment, and Psalm 35 be your defense. Pray with faith and watch peace cover every step you take. Prayer is your first act of victory, and when you start with prayer, your entire day is blessed. Beloved, the quiet of the morning is an invitation to draw near to God. Before the noise of the world rises, prayer allows your spirit to find rest in His presence. It is in these sacred moments that your heart is strengthened and your peace restored. Morning prayer shields you from what lies ahead. It is the gift that aligns you with heaven before you face the day. Psalm 91 promises, "He shall cover thee with His feathers, and under his wings shalt thou trust. His truth shall be thy shield and buckler. Beloved, these words are the reality of a praying heart. Every prayer you whisper is answered with covering. The wings of the Almighty stretch over your life like a shield. Morning prayer secures this divine protection. Beloved, prayer is your daily declaration that you are not walking alone. It reminds you that heaven is not distant, but present. Angels are assigned to your path when you pray. God Himself walks before you as your guide. Morning prayer creates an unbreakable companionship with your Creator. Psalm 23 declares, "He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for His name's sake." Beloved, prayer is where restoration begins. It renews your strength, calms your mind, and resets your spirit. Prayer sets you firmly on the path of righteousness. Morning prayer is the guiding hand that leads you into peace. Beloved, when you pray in the morning, you place the day into God's hands. You invite Him to shape your thoughts, your actions, and your encounters. Prayer consecrates your hours before they even begin. It sanctifies your day with the fragrance of devotion. Morning prayer ensures that nothing is ordinary, for God is present in all of it. Psalm 35 says, "Plead my cause, O Lord, with them that strive with me. Fight against them that fight against me." Beloved, this verse becomes your defense. When you pray, every adversary loses its strength in the presence of God. Prayer hands your battles to the one who cannot lose. Morning prayer secures your justice before the day unfolds. Beloved, prayer is the fire that lights your path. Without it, the journey can feel dark and confusing. With it, every step is illuminated with clarity. Prayer transforms uncertainty into direction. Morning prayer fills your soul with light that cannot be extinguished. Psalm 91 comforts us again. "Thou shalt not be afraid for the terror by night, nor for the arrow that flieth by day." Beloved, prayer removes the grip of fear and replaces it with peace. No arrow of doubt, no dart of anxiety can wound the one who prays. Prayer sets up a shield that fear cannot penetrate. Morning prayer gives you courage greater than your circumstances. Beloved, prayer is surrender wrapped in love. It is laying your burdens at the feet of Jesus and trusting His strength. It is confessing your weakness and receiving His power. Prayer is the act of choosing trust instead of control. Morning prayer frees you from the weight of trying to hold everything together. Psalm 23 reminds us, "Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me." Beloved, prayer is how you welcome that comfort into your day. The shepherd uses his rod to protect and his staff to guide. Prayer keeps you close enough to hear His voice and follow His leading. Morning prayer secures both His safety and His guidance. Beloved, prayer is also your song of hope. It may begin as a whisper, but it ends as a melody of faith. Even in silence, prayer lifts your spirit into harmony with heaven. It is the music that drowns out despair. Morning prayer places a song of victory on your lips. Psalm 35 declares, "Let them be as chaff before the wind, and let the angel of the Lord chase them." Beloved, prayer summons this holy pursuit against your enemies. No plan of darkness can survive the fire of prayer. God Himself becomes the wind that scatters every opposition. Morning prayer activates the angels of the Lord to fight on your behalf. Beloved, prayer transforms the way you see the day. Instead of dread, you feel expectation. Instead of heaviness, you carry hope. Instead of fear, you walk in faith. Prayer changes your perspective from earth's worries to heaven's promises. Morning prayer lifts your vision to eternal truth. Psalm 91 continues, "Because He hath set His love upon me, therefore will I deliver him. I will set him on high, because he hath known my name." Beloved, prayer is your way of setting your love upon God. In response, He promises deliverance. honor, and elevation. Prayer binds your devotion to his action. Morning prayer unlocks this covenant blessing. Beloved, prayer is the anchor of your emotions. It calms the storm within. Before you face the world outside, it silences restless thoughts and replaces them with divine assurance. Prayer is the stillness that strengthens your soul. Morning prayer anchors you in perfect peace. Psalm 23 assures you, "Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life." Beloved, prayer summons these companions to walk with you each morning. Goodness prepares blessings for you, and mercy covers your mistakes. Together they guard your path with grace. Morning prayer secures their presence for your day. Beloved, let your soul rest in the truth that prayer is never wasted. Every word spoken in faith is heard in heaven and remembered by God. Every sigh of surrender is transformed into strength. Every morning prayer becomes a seed of peace planted in your life, and the one who begins with prayer will surely end with praise. Beloved, the journey of prayer is a daily invitation to draw near to the heart of God. Each morning you rise, heaven offers a fresh opportunity to abide under his wings. Prayer is the golden thread that ties your soul to eternity. It is the quiet place where your strength is renewed. Morning prayer is the foundation of every victory. Psalm 91 assures us, "He shall give his angels charge over thee, to keep thee in all thy ways." Beloved, when you pray, this promise becomes alive in your life. Angels surround you because your faith has drawn heaven close. The unseen world bends when you kneel in surrender. Morning prayer summons protection greater than you can imagine. Beloved, prayer is the river that refreshes your soul each morning. It washes away yesterday's burdens and prepares you for today's blessings. Prayer cleanses your thoughts, renews your spirit, and strengthens your heart. It is the holy water of devotion that never runs dry. Morning prayer is the river of peace you must drink from daily. Psalm 23 comforts us. "He leadeth me beside the still waters." Beloved, this stillness is found in prayer. The shepherd calls you to quiet places where fear is silenced and peace reigns. Prayer brings you into his presence, where still waters flow freely. Morning prayer anchors your soul in calm assurance. Beloved, prayer is the language of trust. It is telling God, "I cannot, but you can." It is laying down the weight of control and picking up the gift of surrender. Prayer is trust wrapped in words and lifted in faith. Morning prayer teaches your soul to rest in his hands. Psalm 35 reminds us, "Plead my cause, O Lord. With them that strive with me, fight against them that fight against me." Beloved, morning prayer is where this verse becomes your shield. Every hidden battle is placed into the hands of the Lord. Every unseen enemy is silenced by his justice. Prayer ensures that your cause is never abandoned. Beloved, prayer is also a crown for your morning. It places honor upon your spirit before you meet the world. Prayer marks you as one who walks with God. It is the fragrance of holiness that lingers on your life. Morning prayer clothes you in dignity from heaven. Psalm 91 says, "Thou shalt tread upon the lion and adder, the young lion and the dragon shalt thou trample under feet." Beloved, prayer gives you authority over every spiritual threat. Fear and darkness lose their power when you begin with prayer. You are given strength to walk boldly over opposition. Morning prayer activates the authority promised to you. Beloved, prayer builds strength. You cannot see but will surely feel. It turns weakness into power and despair into hope. Every morning you pray, your spirit grows taller. Prayer strengthens your foundation until nothing can shake it. Morning prayer is how faith becomes unshakable. Psalm 23 declares, "Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil." Beloved, Prayer equips you to walk through any valley. Even in the darkest moments, prayer lights your path. It assures you that the shepherd is near. Morning prayer gives you courage for every valley. Beloved, prayer is the song of your spirit. Even when your lips are silent, your soul sings when you pray. It is the melody of hope rising in the presence of God. It is the hymn of trust that strengthens your heart. Morning prayer fills your life with heaven's song. Psalm 35 assures, "Let them shout for joy and be glad, that favor my righteous cause. Yea, let them say continually, let the Lord be magnified." Beloved, morning prayer lifts this shout from your heart. It magnifies the Lord above every problem. It fills you with joy that cannot be stolen. Prayer awakens gladness in the soul of the believer. Beloved, prayer is the doorway into peace that surpasses understanding. The world may rage around you, but prayer secures calm within you. It guards your mind and heart from fear. Prayer builds walls of peace no storm can break. Morning prayer secures your place in that peace. Psalm 91 concludes, "With long life will I satisfy him, and shew him my salvation." Beloved, this is the promise given to those who pray. God satisfies your days with blessing and peace. He shows you salvation, not only in eternity but here and now. Morning prayer unlocks the fullness of this promise. Beloved, prayer is the holy discipline that turns ordinary mornings into sacred moments. It transforms routine into worship and duty into devotion. It is not just words, it is your soul communing with God. Prayer sanctifies time and space. Morning prayer brings heaven into your ordinary day. Psalm 23 ends, "I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever." Beloved, prayer makes this dwelling real each morning. You do not wait until eternity to be with Him. Through prayer you dwell in His presence daily. Morning prayer is your foretaste of eternal dwelling. Beloved, let your life be marked by prayer at every sunrise. Let Psalm 91 be your shield, Psalm 23 your comfort, and Psalm 35 your defense. Let your mornings always begin at the feet of the Father. Prayer is your power, your peace, and your eternal victory. And may your every prayer rise to heaven as a sweet fragrance of faith. Amen.